Welcome to Cyber Conversations, the show where it's okay to agree to disagree. Today we are talking about Spider-Man Homecoming, which was released in 2017. It's me, Josh. I have also got Bob, Darren, Matthew, and Heather joining me. As far as Spider-Man is concerned, I enjoy this movie a lot. I remember a lot of people argued, and I can definitely see why, that people didn't feel like it was necessary to have another Spider-Man because it was so soon after two previous iterations with two different actors. Because, you know, we all saw Tobey Maguire in 2001 and the following two movies, and we also saw Andrew Garfield in his two movies. So, you know, I can definitely understand that, but I still thought this was a really good movie, especially how it ties into the MCU at large. And later on, of course, some of the other Spider-Man movies that we got, which I enjoyed even more.
Well, and
Uh,
that's a good point is that this Spider-Man, this version of Spider-Man is the version that you'd see. I mean, it was perfect for the MCU.
mhm.
This was kind of the way that it needed to go. We were all used to Toby and Andrew, especially Toby, but this is the way this version needed to be again in order to fit. We already saw him in Civil War, and now he's getting a standalone. So the way it was crafted and the way that the movie was made and the way it was done is obviously for an MCU version, not just a standalone, if that makes
Probably,
sense.
yeah, and probably that's why they had Iron Man as such a prominent figure in it. You know, it wasn't just a cameo. It was, you know, he actually had a real part to play.
Right, right.
So,
Yeah,
Anybody
but
else
is
hot
it,
but
take?
it well, you mentioned standalone. Is it? It's because, like you said, Iron Man's super prominent.
yeah, I
The
don't think it's
alien
standalone.
Chitauri weapons that are left over from the New York attack feature
Yeah.
prominently.
It's it's
None
a
of
more
what he's in.
grounded story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not cosmic level other than the alien tech, but the motivations of the villain aren't cosmic, you know, in scope.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
I think
I think
I
that
think
works.
you're right. And you know, like I don't think it's a standalone movie. It's too connected with the other movies to be standalone, but it does work as a smaller scope, more grounded, you know. I mean, it's street level at this
It
point.
it was standalone in the sense that it was his point of view more, rather than it being centered on Iron Man. Like, yes, Iron Man was a key important character in the movie, but this was, Peter's point of view and his life, his day to day that was going on. So in that sense, it was a Spider-Man movie to me. Um, it was a Spider-Man movie that had other big characters in it.
Mhm.
Hmm. Matthew.
I don't feel like this is a Spider-Man movie. I don't like this movie. I think the
At
way
all?
at all. I think it has very few redeemable qualities. I think Feige and the MCU portray Spider-Man very poorly, and I find this movie to be pretty badly written. Um, I don't know. It's just frustrating. I like it more on the rewatch than I did when I initially saw it. I have not rewatched it since it first came out. I just do not like this movie. I don't like any of Tom Holland's movies. I think he's the worst iteration of Spider-Man we've gotten in live action. Um, I mean, I could go on and on. I got a laundry list, but those are my initial gut feelings. I feel like Iron Man shouldn't have been in this movie. I feel like I know we got the crappy Fantastic Four movie in 2015 prior, but it would have made more sense to have the Fantastic Four. I know there's probably rights that weren't
Yeah, at
secured
this
at the
time.
time, but
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
still
it would have
rights.
made more sense if Reed Richards was the mentor or not even have a mentor. Like, I don't know. It didn't feel like Spider-Man. And I mean, I don't know. I grew up with Tobey. I watched Andrew Garfield's movies. I didn't really
Yeah,
like
I
the
agree.
second.
It was very hard in the contrast to what Spider-Man had become in that moment, for sure. I agree.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. it was not Spider-Man as
Like,
was
there's not even
expected right then.
there's not even a web swinging sequence in this film at all. There's no, like, you go back and watch Tobey's and Andrew's movies, there's at least, kind of from his perspective swinging. It's all wide shot swinging in this one, and there's a very little of him swinging through Manhattan. I don't know, the vibe's just off with this movie.
Well, that was the point I was trying to make, is that this is the MCU version, for lack of a better term, of Spider-Man in order to fit in what the MCU, as that you couldn't put a Tobey or even an Andrew Garfield version really in this, because
you could have put an Andrew Garfield version. You could have easily squeezed the first one into this mold, but it was too Disney-fied. It was too safe.
Right, and I guess that's what I'm saying when I'm saying it's an MCU version of Spider-Man, is that, yeah, it's got all the trademarks of the way that the characters are they've been using him.
Yeah, I just find it frustrating because you say MCU, what does that stand for? It's the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they completely shafted their most prominent character for the sake of having Iron Man 3.5, essentially. But Spider-Man's the forefront character.
I don't think Spider-Man was. I don't think Iron Man was that prominent.
Yeah,
but this actually gives me a good segue, if you don't mind, for the audience, because we don't know any of these going in, and I find Matthew's take very different from apparently all of ours. So, for those of you in the audience, like, if you are upset with any of us, whether it's us because you don't like the movie, or if you're upset with Matt because he doesn't like the movie, the whole point of this show is that we are respectful. We don't judge him. Like, we can think he's wrong, or we can think,
we listen,
I'm not saying that.
We don't judge.
But we're not going to judge.
Like, I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm saying, like, each of us have our own thoughts on it. You, the viewers, would have your own thoughts on it. Matt has his thoughts on it. No one's wrong. It's a movie.
I get, and with that point, Josh, I totally understand why people like Tom Holland's portrayal. I totally get why people love his movies. I just don't. And maybe that's because I'm unk status now, and I grew up with Tobey Maguire, and that's who I see as Spider-Man. And those, there's not even a soundtrack that I could recall from this movie, like there is even with Andrew Garfield's movies. He had more of an iconic theme song.
Well, think about this. Darren, Bob, and we grew up with Mark Hammond.
My Lord.
Gosh.
And Spider-Man
we don't
and
need
Friends.
to go down that road. Anyway, let's jump.
Wow.
Let's jump into the movie. So in this one, we don't obviously get he was bitten by a radioactive spider. They completely go off of that. It's Peter Parker in his high school.
They mention it. They don't show it.
They mention it. What I'm saying is we don't get the whole backstory. We don't have an Uncle Ben at all. But this is, not the tortured adult. It's Peter Parker as a kid. So it's kind of like, his coming of age superhero second kind of approach is the way it kind of came off to me. Is this, how do you guys feel about it? That was more the focus, because with like Tobey, it was like coming out of high school, and then they get into college, they graduate, and then they go into college and that type of thing, and they kind of move it forward. And this one, it's just high school, the high school angst. He's the nerdy whatever, on the science
this was definitely
debate
a teen movie. This was a teenager movie. Like, I think of this movie very different from the other MCU movies that we've seen. Like, I mean, yes, you have some fun, crazy from Guardians side of stuff, but everything else seemed, I think it was more geared toward the young adult kind of thing. This is a teenage movie, and it's about those teenage themes going on. And I almost feel like maybe because of the time period and all the other Spider-Man stories that were out there, it was almost like they left out backstory, because it's like everybody knows the backstory by now. They've seen the other movies in the other universes, or whatever you want to call it. Everybody's got that backstory now. Let's skip that part and just focus on our movie. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I mean, for what it's worth.
In this one, I don't think the Peter Parker character was shown having very much of an arc at all, in terms of he in the other iterations where he had his origin story, the audience gets full understanding of what his motivations to either not be a hero or be a hero were. In this one, he's chomping at the bit to be a hero or to be involved in herodom, and then he gets to be involved in the herodom, and there isn't much regret from him. There isn't much.
No, but
it's
his
just,
growth comes
ooh.
at the end. Yeah, his
When he
growth
picks
comes
high
at the
school
end, 'cause
over
in this movie
hero
he's
work.
yeah, basically he refuses to join the Avengers after spending
See,
the whole
yeah, and
movie.
I don't even know if it was quite that. It was the very much shoehorned in message, uh, if it's all about the suit, then you don't deserve the suit. And it almost mirrors back to the Iron Man stuff, like, when he had to do all this stuff without his suit and like, I am Iron Man. Oh, this was almost the I am Spider-Man moment. If that
Yeah.
makes sense. Like, that's how I saw that as the
Matthew.
lesson to be learned.
Matthew, you seem to have a point that you wanted to make.
I get where Darren's going with he wants to be a hero, but he wants every other iteration of Spider-Man, we get him as the friendly neighborhood. Like, he is a hero because he supports the locality of the 5 boroughs. We don't get that in this movie. He is reluctant to do that. I don't see him as a hero in this film. He wants to be an
Like, he's
Avenger.
wanting to go
Yeah.
off to war where
Right.
the
He's
war is.
seeking-
He should
But that
be a
was
little
the
more
point.
local.
That's
Right.
why that's what he learns by the end, that he wants to, he doesn't join the Avengers. He wants to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He even says that specifically to Tony at the end.
Right.
I'm
It's
just gonna-
yeah, that's fair. It's just frustrating because we have his backstory. It focuses so much on essentially a Ferris Bueller's Day Off type of storyline where it's coming of age and, he is reluctant to do all these things because he has the powers, but he's not content throughout the film until the end. And I find that frustrating because everybody wants to be Spider-Man, right? Yes.
Yeah.
5-year-old little boys, what they want to be. They want to be Spider-Man when they grow up.
I still want to be Spider-Man,
Right.
and I'm
Yeah.
39. Wink.
Wink, wink. Yeah.
People always want more, though. I mean,
Sure,
that's
I'm
the
not
thing.
saying.
Sorry.
Even Peter Parker in the Tobey Maguire movies, he wants, his focus and motivation is securing Mary Jane's love and being stable while also balancing Spider-Man. In this one, he just could give a rat's ass about his school life. He wants to be seen,
Yeah.
and he wants his ascension to being an Avenger. And I
Yeah.
get the final 30 seconds of the movie is like, oh, never mind, I'm gonna,
I'm going to stay at ground level.
actually come of age and realize, oh, my hometown or my neighborhood is more important than the world. But anyway,
And then
But
you have
not
him
for
off
nothing,
in
I think-
cosmic movies after that.
I mean, I think that it's important to note that this is very much based on the comics. I mean, it's easy to forget watching Tobey Maguire, where he was in high school for a few scenes at the beginning, and then he's off in college. Andrew Garfield, he never seemed like he never looked like he was high school age, but that's another story. But
It's like
he was
Grease.
supposed to be in high school. Yeah, he's 30 years old, but he's been held back for 15 years.
Exactly.
But this movie is like the comics. When Spider-Man first came out, he was this age. I've even seen some comics where he was in middle school. He's supposed to be extremely young, and I like that. I've often said Tobey Maguire played a great Peter Parker, but he wasn't that great as Spider-Man. And Andrew Garfield, I thought, was a much better Spider-Man, but he was not believable as Peter Parker because
And
he's too cool.
I've heard a lot
He's-
of people say that, and vice versa. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I thought Andrew Garfield was a great Peter Parker and not a good
Yeah, I
Spider-Man,
didn't think he
blah,
was-
blah, blah.
Yeah, I
But I
didn't think he
mean-
was a good Peter Parker because he's not nerdy at all. He's like really cool and he's good looking enough that, but I mean, he was skating around like that's not Peter Parker. But, it depends on the comic book that you're reading.
Well, it
But
also
I thought
depends on
Tom
the
Holland-
time period. I mean,
True. But
mean,
Tom
that's-
Holland, I thought, nailed both. Maybe he's not as strong an actor as either of them. Like, Tobey Maguire has real acting chops for dramas. I haven't seen Andrew Garfield in much, but in the movies that I've seen of him, including No Way Home, Andrew Garfield kills it. He's an amazing actor who I used to not even give enough credit to. I think that Tom Holland is very good, maybe not quite as good as either of them, but I think he's very good at both roles. But that's just me. Obviously Matthew doesn't, because
I kicked it
and
off
that's
with that.
important.
Yeah.
You know?
No, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if I were to go back, it's, to what we talked about at the beginning is how we feel about the movie. I mean, I'm not negative on it. I'm like Matthew. It was a better rewatch. I didn't mind it, but I saw it through the MCU rose-colored glasses of this
Yeah.
is the version of Spider-Man that they're making for this. And I wasn't
Yes.
expecting to get a Tobey or an Andrew. I was expecting to get, an angsty teenager coming of
Yes,
age
yes, yes. I agree
Yeah.
with
Spider-Man.
that.
I mean, so I think if with that expectation in mind, if anybody went into it with that, that was like I wasn't expecting that. Um, I think that, well, we can get there when we talk about the next one. But I was just going to mention how it's interesting with the newest Spider-Man movie that it's coming out. What's it called? Spider
Brand New Day.
Brand new
Brand
day.
New Day.
Yeah.
They've like completely. It's much
They're
darker.
resetting it. Yeah.
They're like they even duplicated like the poster from was it Spider-Man 2 or was it Spider-Man the original one with Tobey Maguire with the close-up shot of his eye with the
Yeah.
no, and it's like a lot of the shots and anything, but
So they're letting
coming
Tom
back,
Holland grow up, you mean?
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So coming back to the this Homecoming, the high school comedy again, kind of wanted to explore that a little bit more. I think with that we need to talk about. I think right here we should talk about Ned.
Well, I do want to talk about him, but one thing I wanted to say real quick just before we move on, I think when this movie came out was right around the time that movies such as this, the remakes, were getting criticized for going over the same origin story again and again. For example, people were making fun of Batman at this time because at this point we'd seen like 6 versions of Thomas and Martha Wayne getting gunned down. And they thought, now we're going to get a third version of Ben getting killed. So this movie still acknowledges all of that happened, but we didn't see it. So they avoided the origin story. And I think it was specifically because they didn't want to show it again. Everyone knows the origin story. Everyone knows that something happened that Peter could have stopped. He didn't. And as a result, Ben was killed. And that's why Peter does what he does.
Well, yeah, and
So-
I thought it was interesting too that they didn't even do it as a flashback. Like it's
Nope,
just completely
nothing at all.
Yeah,
The
it's
only
just completely
acknowledgement
referenced.
Yeah, the only thing he says is when he's talking to Tony Stark, and he says, when you can do the things that I can do, and then the bad things happened, and you don't stop them, then it's your fault, or something like that,
Right, right. Like I was saying, the high school, continuing with the high school thing, we got Ned,
Mhm.
we've got,
Yeah.
The high school friend thing. I mean, I thought the chemistry between them all was pretty good. I thought the humor was pretty good. Um, I thought the teachers were a little
Yeah,
typecasty, and I'm looking
I
forward to the other Spider-Man movies in that.
that's actually
But
my biggest gripe is the
which is
teachers.
what? Yeah.
The teachers. Um, just because a lot of this movie is like all of the MCU, even though it's kind of a different reality from ours, obviously, but a lot of it is kind of like the world is very similar to ours in most ways. I don't see any realism in a world where teachers like, I can't lose another student, which is what he says after the Washington Monument. He's like, I can't lose a student,
And it
not
was
again.
played for comedy,
And-
which is
yeah,
mm,
the
Right.
teachers were just morons, and it's comedy, which is funny. And I think that Martin Starr, who plays Mr. Henderson, he's very funny. It's just, it bugs me because all of a sudden he's an idiot. He's a teacher and he's an idiot. But one thing that I don't know if anyone knew this, because I didn't know this until a couple days ago, and it blew my mind. This is not the first time we saw Mr. Henderson. He was the kid at the university in Hulk who lets Bruce Banner in to use the computer. Bruce bribes him with a pizza.
In the Incredible Hulk movie.
Yeah,
Wow.
in The Incredible Hulk.
That's a deep
It's the
cut.
same
Nice.
actor, and it's also the same character. And I was just like, oh my God. I mean, it makes
Okay.
sense. He was an
And I
idiot.
said it during the Incredible Hulk podcast. The Incredible Hulk movie is the farthest reaching in terms of touch points across the entire MCU. And
Yeah,
even into the
believe
next
that.
Spider-Man, Brand New Day,
Yep.
Perfect
So-
Day.
Interesting.
What's
That's
it
a good-
called?
that's a-
Rainy
that's a
Day.
deep cut,
I'm
Josh.
kidding. It's not.
Rainy day. Snow day.
I didn't know until I was researching it because I was trying to remember the guy's name, and then I found him, and it's like he reprised his role, and I was like, when the hell
Reprised.
was he in
Wow.
anything else? And I looked it up, and he was in Hulk, and I'm like, oh my God, that was him. So
Cyber Conversations. We do the deep dive, so
Yeah,
you don't have to.
mind blown. Okay.
We go deep.
Yeah.
Deep.
So Ned.
Super deep.
Don't. Why is
Yeah,
it
so
that when
Ned,
you say something, no
so-
matter how clean it is, you make it sound dirty? I don't know why.
Well, you know
it's
what,
his
Josh?
superpower.
It's not my favorite, but it's still really good. So I'm just saying that right now because I got to say that now in every episode. Anyway,
we can agree to
no,
disagree.
I just wanted to. I mean,
So let's talk about Ned.
Ned, and we could talk about
what's his name? Jacob Batalon.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think Ned. I mean, I think he was. I agree with and I've seen this in a lot of places. I thought he was a little bit of a scene stealer. He was a great foil for Tom Holland Spider-Man. I thought they really played off each other really well. I mean, the whole guy in the chair scenario. But I think that's
they hung a lantern
absolutely.
on that. That was really good.
Yeah.
And but when he made that comment, all I could think of was like, for those of you who are way too young, Street Hawk, and you get Norman in the chair, and like you think about that Birds of Prey TV show, and you had Oracle in the chair, literally, unfortunately. But
Alfred.
But there was always somebody. Devin Miles. He was in the. He was at least in a semi. Probably sitting in a chair sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's always
April.
there's
April
always
and
that guy in the chair thing.
Yeah. Alfred is Batman's guy in the chair.
But I think that in my opinion, if I just look at the core of the high school component that they put into this, I think it was done pretty well. I mean, you got the homecoming, you got the party. It is cliche because it touches on those things that like a lot of teenagers go through. But I think it played it off. I think everybody did a good job and kind of showing that type of thing with it.
Although in my opinion, I don't think MJ played teen angst very well.
Like
I guess
teen emo.
She was in
the
it
emo
so much.
character.
That's
She
what
was
I,
the emo
yeah,
one,
that's what
yeah.
I meant. I don't think she play it every time she tried
She's
to
not
be emo or broody or whatever or against society, whatever it was. It just didn't seem genuine, and I don't know if that's how MJ was written or that's how Zendaya played her. But every time
it's definitely
she did that,
different
it was like
from.
It didn't land for me. Like she actually is angsty or broody about anything.
And I actually
don't
felt like she did that well. That actually, it irked me the first time I saw the movie just because, not that I have any problem with Zendaya herself, but I thought I was still stuck on the idea of the comic book version of Mary Jane. I never have been a huge fan of Kirsten Dunst, so it wasn't that I was expecting another, girl like her. But in the comics, she was always, bright and optimistic and, with the red hair and like modeling was her future and all of that. And Zendaya doesn't do that in this movie. And it bothered me at first just because I was like, what did they do? Like, why is she MJ? They really couldn't find anyone better. But then the more I watched it, and especially when I coupled it with the later movies, I really enjoyed this version of MJ where she's, at least in my point of view, she's not the bubbly personality that we got from the comics, but she's very intelligent, which I think benefits the character. She comes across as that intelligent, in that intelligence. She even figures out that Peter is Spider-Man. He doesn't have to tell her.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And I've also never been.
I can't hear Kirsten Dunst and not think of Deadpool going, and you're my Kirsten Dunst. Kirsten? I don't know.
I actually don't like
I know.
her Mary Jane. I don't think that she did a good job, and I don't think either of them, that Tobey Maguire's Peter and Kirsten Dunst's Mary Jane, I don't think they were good for each other. I didn't think that their chemistry was that good, and I thought they treated both of each other poorly by the third movie. They were terrible people.
What do you think of Oh, go ahead, Heather. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I agree. I like the more intelligent take on MJ rather than kind of ditzy, bubbly. But again, I without trying to tie it to like it should be one way or another. I enjoyed this particular variation, interpretation of MJ.
Yeah, her
what did you guys-
intelligence and her sussing out of things was great. It's just I didn't think she played Rage Against the Machine very well in her kind of thing.
She was very passive. She was very passive in her disdain for everybody around.
What did you think of this? What did you think of how they did Flash Thompson in this one? I mean, they
that
completely
was a horrible
That's why I said
representation.
This. I want Matthew jumping in on that because I actually have to agree. I didn't mind the character, but that was a complete it's one thing if you take Mary Jane and make her a little more emo, right, for a different type of character. But Flash, I don't know. There was always there was the Flash Thompson character about being the typical cliche jock was also in its own way, kind of a growth moment for Peter Parker. And in this one, he's just a bully, but he's kind of a,
Flash
he's kind of
was always kind of a bully, but I like the fact that bullies are no longer the way they were when I was growing up, and they were the jocks and like that. That's what they were in the 80s. They aren't that anymore.
I assure you they still are, but that's okay.
Yeah, I haven't been in high school in a while. I've heard things from the 4 children that I have that that hasn't changed.
Bullying is alive and well.
But one thing I do want to say, just because it really annoyed me, not anything that any of us did, but Tony Revolori, who played Flash, got death threats when he got cast and when it was announced. And I'm sorry, I condemn
Ridiculous.
that.
That's
horrible.
terrible.
And
he's a good
anyone
actor.
who's watching, if you were one of the people that sent him death threats, turn the show off. You're not welcome here.
But
that's ridiculous.
It was bad writing. It was a bad writing of a character. And it's a shame because I really liked him in Grand Budapest Hotel as the lobby boy. I can't remember the character name. I just didn't like, and the whole Penis Parker, and that's, we'll get to the humor, I'm sure, but the whole humor in this, I know it's a high school movie and it's a coming of age movie, but it's like, this is where the humor's overdone. It doesn't land well most of the time. I also don't like Zendaya's character in this movie. I question why she's there. She serves no purpose. She doesn't progress the plot.
Character.
But then she becomes his love interest. Like, knowing what we know now, it's like that wasn't postured that way at all. And I don't know. It's just frustrating. And you're going to call her MJ?
Yeah, they didn't even want... That was the surprise.
Well, yeah, but that was also but that feels like just a throw in just to be like, oh, the fans are probably going to want to hear it. It's just like what they did with... I can't remember his name at the end of Nolan's Batman on the last one. And he's like, you should use your real name, Robin. And I'm like, what? Like, why throw that? Why does that even matter? And at the end of this one, it's like,
it also wasn't his real name.
My friends call me MJ.
Movie.
Yeah,
Michelle the whole movie.
Yeah. And it's like,
Can
anyway.
I give
I don't know what they're... Sorry.
I was just going to give a take on Flash Thompson here.
Go.
Not that I love the character, but in this movie specifically, it seems the way they changed him and the style of bullying that was presented wasn't jock, wasn't roided, wasn't that kind of thing, but it was still it looked like Flash was trying to fit in and be popular, and had the same motivation to be popular and to be accepted in exactly the same motivation that Peter did in his, when he wasn't being Spider-Man, but in his Peter Parker high school situations.
Yeah.
But Flash Thompson was just doing it the only way he thought he could, and that's where a vein,
Yeah, that's why he
a
hates
method
Peter.
and that's where where a style of bullying comes from. Is I'm
Yeah, that's why
competing
I
with you
liked it.
for attention. So I have to tear you down. I have to say Penis Parker instead of
Yeah.
he sees him as
Yeah,
a,
that's
as
why
a
I
rival.
liked. Yeah, that's why I liked his version of Flash. I mean, he's not the traditional Flash, but I think that his type of bullying is very valid. Not that it's a good thing, but it happens.
The
He's
portrayal
not
was
trying to
accurate, I
beat up
guess.
Peter because he's like a big. Yeah, he's
Yeah, I
not trying
think
to beat up Peter. He's just trying to one up him, and he gets
yeah, I
angry at
think
the
there's a
fact that
little bit of realism to it because bullying, like the top jock in the school really doesn't care at all about the nerd in the
yeah,
school.
yeah.
The
Look at
bullying
that.
happens closer to home, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
And if you look at one of the first scenes with Flash, it's where he answers a question. He tries to be as quick as possible and answers a question by raising his hand, and he gets it wrong. And then the teacher calls on Peter because he's sleeping, and he's like, "What?
yeah,
What? What?" And then he answers it anyway. And Flash just looks at him and goes, "You're dead." And like this is like that was it. Peter had no care about Flash when he answered. He wasn't trying to one up him. He's just busy with his own, in his own thoughts. And Flash hates him because it comes so easy for him. And like to me, that's a big reason why kids bully.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I wanted to move on to too is the Tony all the Tony Stark stuff in this
Well,
one.
did we talk about Ned though? Because we kept kind of brushing.
Yeah,
over
we didn't
him.
really
Yeah,
talk
we
about
did.
Ned
Oh,
too
did we
much.
go
Ned?
off of Ned? Oh,
No
well, then
Ned.
let's
No
move on
Ned.
too.
I mean, we did say
Let's-
we thought that he played off of Peter really well, and I agree. Um, we talked a little bit about the fact that he's the guy in the chair, and I definitely, he's very relatable in that way. I think that I don't know that any of us would behave differently if we found out our best friend could do all of that, and so I like the scenes with Ned, except he does irritate me at times too because even though it's realistic, he can't keep his mouth shut, and he causes more problems for Peter than he solves, at least at the beginning of the movie.
Agreed.
A
I love
gym
the
class.
sequence where he's asking him all the different, can you do this? What about
Yeah.
this? Da, 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 da. And
Yeah.
I
Do you
think
lay
that was a
eggs?
very
What?
those
No.
are like those questions that like if you find out something that fantastical about a friend that you all those curiosity questions that are going to come up. So I that whole stretch there made me chuckle.
Yeah.
As
Although
Yeah.
it
he
is
was
sad
kind of
that
letting his
Peter Parker.
curiosity out.
Yeah. I was gonna say it is sad though, given all the other characters Peter Parker can interact with, that he has a lot of dialogue with the AI in his suit. More than I
Yeah.
thought he should, like more poignant stuff than I thought he should, at least
Hey, that
given
sounds
that it's
very
just an AI in a
contemporary.
suit.
Anyway.
yeah, that's very
true.
for our times
Yeah.
right now. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
Even
had
more
long
now
better
than it
or
was
worse.
with my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I just thought, does Peter Parker need a heads up display? It's like, or does Spider-Man need
Well,
a HUD
Well, that was
and
what I
an
was gonna-
AI?
That was what I
that's
was.
something that when we talk about Tony.
There, I
that's
diverted from
the
Ned
whole-
again.
Right.
Ned's not in this anymore.
Yeah, right. Well, no, it's not.
It's a good
springboards
segue.
into it's a segue into Tony Stark, being the mentor, and obviously that relationship with Spider-Man and Peter Parker goes on through the movies and stuff like that. But that was one note I put in there was, the suit tech. Was it a cool upgrade or was it too much Iron Man influence on that? Again, I still look at it as the MCU effect on Spider-Man, and what they're going to do and how it ties in. But I also look at Tony Stark too, because there was no Uncle Ben. Not that Tony Stark was in any way a replacement. You can't see Tony Stark going, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
not like
that's not.
it's that's not him. But however, he did step into, he was there in that kind of role.
He was trying to be a father figure.
But he
Yeah,
wasn't. But that's okay.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. He
No,
wasn't
it's
at
not.
all. But
He
I
But
was
he
mean,
was
trying to
trying to
say,
be.
keep your childhood.
Don't do anything I
right
wouldn't
now.
do.
Yeah.
And don't do anything I would do.
Right.
Yeah. There you go.
He wasn't really a mentor. He was
No,
just
he
like,
wasn't, but he wanted to be.
I don't get that from him though. Like he's very dismissive the whole movie, and he'd rather fix the problems himself that Peter creates, because this version of Spider-Man's also wildly incompetent in this movie
Well,
for whatever
and giving
reason.
him the suit
I think that goes to
itself
say that Tony Stark
was
doesn't know
one of
how
his
to
fixes.
mentor. Like, this is all he's got, is like, do what I say, like, and he has no other concept of what mentoring might look like. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Benefit
It
of the
comes
doubt
back to
on that one.
It comes back to the whole me questioning, why is he here? Why isn't it somebody better, more suited? I know he discovers Spider-Man for Civil War, but it could have been like, I don't know, Captain America would have been more relatable,
He was a fugitive at this point.
Right, I get that, but it's like they had the New York connection. I don't know. That's the other thing
Yeah.
too, is this timeline screwed up, is they jump 8 years after Avengers 1 for this movie, and now it's 2020 in this timeline, which I thought was odd.
Yeah,
because I
the
thought we
time
were
jump was
current.
weird in the beginning, and I didn't remember that from before. Like,
Yeah,
they
that's
showed
always
that
bugged me.
opening scene, then it's like 8 years later. It's like, wait, what?
yeah.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like Iron Man had a better mentorship with Harley in Iron Man 3 than he did with Peter Parker in this movie, and that rubs me the
That's a
wrong
good
way.
point.
So
Yeah, that is
I
a
would
good
imagine
point.
it's just because they create this relationship because he discovered him, that now Peter's kind of like, that's his idol of sorts, because that was the one who gave him all that attention, and yeah, he's the guy that
Sure.
gave him the suit. He's the like, so I think it just as a role model
Right.
kind of connection, but yeah, he's not a good mentor, but yeah, he became the mentor by default.
Right. Narratively,
I
I get why he's here. It just, from a character perspective, it doesn't make sense, and they don't
I
seem to like each other. So
I think it's very telling that Peter finds the evidence of this weapons trade going on, and he keeps calling Happy, and Happy keeps ignoring him. But then we
That made
find
me
out
so mad.
he didn't ignore him, because he did tell Tony, and Tony called the feds. Tony was the reason that the FBI was there. So Tony is the person who did take him seriously, and I think it's very telling that he didn't tell him that, because like that would have been a great mentoring thing for him to show him, I'm taking care of it. You go back to doing things on the ground. I'm going to take care of the weapons. But he doesn't say anything, and
Yeah,
that
the closest was when
aggravates
he
me.
dropped the line about the lady with the churro, like,
Yeah,
it's like, he wouldn't have known that if he wasn't actually paying attention
yeah.
to these updates or whatever else that Peter
Well, I
kept
thought it
sending.
was.
But it
I
did.
thought it was.
It did annoy me that they kept that he was so dismissed. All the messages, you see all that.
Yeah.
Like I feel that. Watching
I
those
agree.
scenes.
That's
It's
why
like,
I think that Tony
Yeah.
was not a good mentor, but it wasn't because he wasn't paying attention. It was just that he didn't tell Peter he was paying attention. He he paid more attention than Peter knew, and it wasn't until Peter totally screwed up that he found out.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I don't know, it might have been interesting to see how it would have played out if Peter knew the whole time that.
Do you feel that Happy was more of a mentor-ish?
No.
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 I'm just saying.
No.
Man.
Happy was the
I
one
don't
who was
know.
actually
I'm
ignoring
just throwing
him.
it out there, just into the ether, seeing who feels what.
I mean, I still like Happy, but yeah, he was annoying me because he seems to actively dislike Peter. It isn't even that he's dismissive. He seems to really get irritated by Peter.
But in the
some
same way
cases
that
it
some
is
adults get
justified.
irritated by any kid, like,
Yeah.
I think it was, but yeah, it doesn't feel good to watch that play out. It's like, quit being a jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something serious to Peter, at least, like, at least, sincerely
Well,
listen
yeah.
for 3 seconds, and then, make your decisions. But he was very
I-
Yeah.
dismissive.
I'd like to make a quick comment regarding the suit that Tony gave to Spider-Man.
Well, yeah.
Given if you aren't paying attention enough or don't have a lot of familiarity with the Spider-Man character, and this was like your inroad to the Spider-Man character, I think you could be forgiven for thinking for a large portion of the movie that the suit was most of Spider-Man's powers. That the suit itself, it was doing an Iron Man thing for Spider-Man in terms of like giving him the super strength and giving him the this and the that, and the, you know, most of his abilities seem to be emanating from the suit itself. And if you weren't paying attention enough, you could, you know, get that impression that Peter Parker isn't all that much without the suit.
Well,
so
we
when
see
they
him
have
do
that
it all with his hood, though. You know, when he goes
not
back to
as
to his
much
street
though.
clothes.
Yeah,
he
I
does
agree.
some stuff. He does some stuff.
Yeah,
but
he
not,
does some, but he can't like do all the tricks with his webs and that.
Right, and I feel like they nerfed his spider sense in this version of
It's not
Spider-Man.
even in
Did he
this
do a
movie.
single spider sense reaction at
No.
all?
I thought he
in this
did
movie?
I don't ever
one.
remember.
Zero.
No,
I
I
don't
mean,
think he
that's
had
how-
any.
That
Yeah,
thing
he
with
didn't
the
say like
where
he didn't go like, oh God, you know, or oh my gosh, or whatever. Like
yeah,
a
when
split second
Adrian
before things
Toomes
happened.
used the his wings to cut the to break the pillars,
Mm.
and he was
Oh,
distracting
those.
Peter. Like his spider sense should have
Nothing
been,
went off.
like,
Yeah,
you know, the ceiling is about to cave in on me, but no,
Yeah,
but
this
I mean,
Spider-Man does not seem to have Spidey sense.
but it does
He
seem
does once. He does once in Infinity War when his hair grows up on his
Well,
arm when he's on
later
the
on,
school
they
bus, and he
say
goes,
it.
"Huh?"
In the second movie, they talk about it. In Far From Home, he's got the tingle, the Peter tingle. So,
but he
Oh,
he
yeah,
only
I think that it
reacts a
might be
split
something
second
that
before it happens. It's not much of a useful power. In other iterations, it actually is more substantial in like what he gets a better sense of what the problem is.
I
In this
took it-
iteration, it's useless.
I
Might
don't
as
mean
well
to
be.
cut you off. I just
Sorry.
I took it as he's getting it, like he. Maybe
Still
I'm wrong,
developing.
but yeah,
He-
I got
he's
the
still
impression
growing,
he's
yeah.
just still he's still learning about it, and he doesn't have it yet. Maybe,
Right.
or if he does,
8
he
years?
doesn't really.
He's still baby Spider-Man.
No, eight
He's
years
still
has nothing
baby
to do with it.
Spider-Man.
No, 8 years has nothing to do with it. He wasn't Spider-Man in the first scene, or if he was, we didn't know about him. You know,
Oh,
this was in the first 8 years is after the villains. You know, after the
How far is
Chitauri
this
leave
after
there.
Civil War in the MCU time? Not the in universe time.
I don't know if they said how long, but we know that it's after because
It's
Cap
Because
is
he
a war
references
criminal at this point.
taken
And at the
So-
point
the
in Civil
shield,
War,
yeah.
he'd only had the powers for 6 months. So maybe it was developing, but that
Oh.
wasn't explained. And it bugs me that there's no Spider-Man sense at all. Like even in the bank scene when he's
Yeah.
fighting 4 guys, he can't, you know, at least once.
Yeah. But
So-
that's what I took it to be. Maybe I'm wrong, but I took it to mean. I mean, maybe in real life it was that the filmmakers didn't know how to properly do it, or maybe they decided they didn't want to. You know, creative.
they pulled a Game of Thrones and
license.
he just forgot, you know. That's
Yeah.
I'm
Who
going to
knows?
stick to baby
Well, if that's
Spider-Man,
the
like
case,
Baby Yoda
then
or something.
shame.
Yeah, that's what I feel. Like,
Shame. Oh, sorry, I could do that for
No.
another hour.
No.
I wanted. I
that
wanted.
was-
Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Josh. No,
No,
go
I
ahead.
just I was just reiterating, like that's what I thought, or that's how
Yeah.
I felt about it. That he
Um,
just hadn't developed it yet.
Well, and then with
But
the
I do
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead.
I didn't mean to. I'm very bad at that.
The suit problem with it, I don't know. This is another issue I have, and I know we're going to get to the Spider-Man identity. This version of Spider-Man is not very smart. I already said he's incompetent, but he's also not very smart. I know he developed his web fluid and his web shooters, but he doesn't have his own suit. Like all the other Spider-Men make their own suits.
He did.
No, but this is Tony's suit. So
No, before that.
yeah, it was garbage.
Yeah,
It's like he
Yeah.
couldn't sew. Like, I mean, at least Tobey could sew, you know.
No, that's true. But that's something.
That's a
That's one of
superpower.
those things that they're doing with Brand New Day. That's like the point, or the very end of No Way Home, I should
Right.
say. They show that he's sewing it now, so he's growing.
It's just a
But-
lack of identity. I feel like the writers severely misunderstand the character for the sake of humor and for the Disneyfication of this particular film and this version of the character. At least in this entry, it just, I don't know. There's a lot of things that bug me, and it bugs me that he couldn't make his own suit and he had to rely on Tony Stark for it.
Yeah. Well, I hate to cut in here, but we're out of time for this episode. So, Bob and I, we want to thank you for watching. We will continue this discussion next week. And in the meantime, if you haven't already, please hit like and subscribe. And as always, make tomorrow better than yesterday.